because I can actually see over it. Thank you. Thank you. Jermaine was one of my lead volunteers at the Can-Am, and I do appreciate what you did there. Look forward to seeing you come back. Hope the dogs don't pee on you. Je vous remercie de me donner le privilège de ce soir présenter notre invité d'honneur. Mon nom est Alain Ouellet, et comme vous voyez, je suis évidemment beaucoup plus jeune que notre invité. Et je suis fier de dire que depuis l'enfance, j'ai une partie de sa vie et celle de ses jeunes frères, vivant et jouant dans les mêmes quartiers. Et nous avons profité de tout ce que Fort Kent a offert. Et plus récemment, les 5 dernières années, de travailler ensemble en tant que défenseurs de la croissance et le développement économique dans les endroits que nous avons tous les deux fièrement appelés chez nous. Thank you. Before I begin, I thought it was a good idea for us to understand and appreciate this UMFK Outstanding Alumnus Award and what it is about and why it is to be conferred on our guest here this evening. The UMFK Alumnus Award holds its rightful place in this institution as one of the most important awards that is given a graduate of the University of Maine at Fort Kent. The award provides our university with the chance to recognize one who merits great distinction among peer alumni, and the selection involves evaluating a candidate using basically 5 metrics. The Alumni Award recognizes achievement of an exceptional nature in any field, covering an entire career. Second, the award is reserved for those alumni who have attained and maintained high stations in their chosen fields of endeavor and in their service to society. It recognizes how the candidates serve the university and its alumni. Fourth, it examines how this service has been truly extraordinary. And finally, it chronicles how this individual benefited our beloved institution here at the University of Maine at Fort Kent. So over the course of the next hour and 45 minutes, it is my hope that I will be able to touch on each of these this evening. Our honored guest was born and raised here in Fort Kent and attended high school in Moncton, New Brunswick. A bit on that later. And he undertook part of his undergraduate studies at Loyola University in Montreal, and after which he transferred and then completed his degree here at the University of Maine at Fort Kent. Upon graduating from the university, he began his professional career as a local high school teacher and basketball coach, and soon became adult education director for MS 8027. He developed and grew the adult education program to become the largest in the state of Maine, earning him a graduate fellowship to complete his master's degree at the University of Southern Maine. In addition to his undergraduate degree here at UMFK, he took part in advanced international executive education from the Harvard Graduate School of Business Administration, and successfully completed studies in supply chain management from Ohio State University and labor negotiations from the University of Michigan. Upon graduation, he entered the business world, accumulating more than 35 years of domestic and global business, managing businesses across North America, Europe, and Russia. He began his professional career working as corporate training director and industrial relations manager. And through Great Northern Paper Company, he was loaned to the United States Department of Labor and assigned to the United States embassies in the West African countries of Senegal and the Ivory Coast, training government officials and developing industrial safety programs for several companies. Successfully completing his assignments with the State Department, our honoree returned home in Maine for a brief time to soon join International Paper's corporate headquarters in New York City. He spent the remainder of his professional career with IP before retiring in 2008. And while there, he acquired extensive procurement experience in energy and wood fiber production. Being bilingual in French and with a solid knowledge of the forest industry, he relocated to France where he managed IP's French subsidiary as its chief operating officer. During his tenure in Europe, communism fell in Russia and throughout the Eastern Bloc countries. Perhaps our guest may have had something to do with that, though my trusted contacts in Washington are still quiet about it. International Paper became one of the first companies to seek out business opportunities in these countries, which ultimately led to the acquisition of major companies in Poland and in Russia. He later returned to integrate these newly acquired companies to become successful, solid financial companies. Upon returning to the U.S., he directed wood fiber procurement programs, supplying numerous paper mills and wood product plants throughout the United States, and did so with an operating annual budget of over $2.5 billion. He concluded his career as Director of Business for the company's supply chain initiative, responsible for the transformation of the company's fiber resources division, procurement and delivery processes and systems, as well as for the paper and containerboard business. That too, a $1.1 billion project. I feel like Donald Trump. No, I don't. He has served as Vice President on the Executive Board of the Forest Resources Association, a national forest industry organization, and has been recognized by the Industrial College of the Armed Forces, National Defense University, for substantial contribution to the Industrial Studies Program, and is a former board member of the mighty 8th Air Force Museum in Savannah, Georgia. I bet you all do that, right? Well, I'm told that his election to the board membership of the Air Force Museum was likely due to having flown biplanes, given his age and all. Upon retiring, and all good people with a deep love for their hometown often do, he and his lovely wife returned to their summer home in nearby Eagle Lake, and since his return, he has served on the executive committee of Fort Kent's 2011 World Cup Biathlon events, and recently completed his term of office as president of the Board of Visitors of the University of Maine at Fort Kent, and currently serves on the University of Maine Process Organization Commission. He now serves as member of the Loring Development Authority Board of Trustees, which is, as you know, the decommissioned Air Force Base, and in his quote-unquote spare time, he's president and CEO of Pinnacle Management Consulting, a private consulting company assisting other companies with their organizational and change management needs. So, by this time in our evening's recognition, some of you are probably wondering if these many achievements and accolades would earn him the equally coveted approbation by the papacy for his eventual beatification as saint of the timber industry. But with a little help from our honoree and members of his wonderful family, we were able to add, shall we say, a few interesting tidbits about his past. And so I begin. Years ago, our neighborhood in Fort Kent always had a summertime baseball game going on. And his parents' backyard was quite wide and deep and was conveniently situated adjacent to 3 other equally large backyards, making it a terrific place to set up the bases where all of the neighborhood kids would gather around for yet another evening pickup game of baseball. So by all accounts, our honored guest was a pretty good athlete and held his own with a baseball bat. But he and his chums also knew that just 3 houses down was the home and backyard of a well-known and somewhat feared Mrs. Gee. Mrs. Gee. Now, Mrs. Gee was a truly fine lady, but if ever a baseball were to land in her backyard, she would open the back door, slowly step down off the porch below her ligne à linge, and would pick up the otherwise perfectly fine baseball and keep it for her grandson. And then she would look straight at the players and with a glare warn them what might happen if another baseball were ever to land in her backyard again. So well, this one evening, not wanting to miss the opportunity to be first at bat, our young honoree proudly stepped up and swung at an inside slider, and wouldn't you know it, the ball was hit squarely and it sailed high and far, far enough to land right next to Mrs. Guy's back porch, just beneath the lit manège. Now the rest of the team players stood there motionless, fearing Mrs. Guy would soon step out and give them all a piece of her mind, and letting their parents know of her disappointment. At that moment, the team players looked around, only to realize that the batter was nowhere to be seen. You see, he had flown the coop, as they say, and quietly hid in the nearby trees, avoiding any chance that Mrs. Guy would recognize the guilty baseball player. So we returned, back a few years to that private school in Moncton that I mentioned. The school was a Catholic school for boys, and it was run by priests, brothers who made it their calling to provide their young aspiring students with a solid education and fed them with food grown and raised right from the school campus. So off beyond the large garden was the school's livestock that supplied much of the sustenance offered to our growing students. And being the somewhat mischievous young freshman that he was, he successfully convinced a few of his classmates to join him on one of his, shall we call, adventures. Now, in the back of the dormitory building was this freight elevator, and that served the general needs of the faculty and the student body and such. One late evening, with the help of his accomplices, they were able to successfully coax one of the young rams from the nearby flock into the elevator. Completing the struggle for embarkation, they sent our terrified traveler to the third floor of the dormitory, where the door opened, to over 40 beds with his fellow students soundly asleep. In comes this terrified young ram, bleeding away, slamming into the streetwalkers and creating absolute chaos throughout the third floor school dormitory. Now I'm told, to this day, that no one has yet discovered who was responsible for this. But I suspect after this evening that's going to change. I'll make sure. He has been married for 49 years to his long-suffering wife. Gloria. And they have 4 children, Dana, Karen, Kathy, and Chris. And they are also blessed with 7 grandchildren. Their niece, Charlie, an important part of his family as well. I believe she is also a graduate of the nursing program right here at UMFK. Are you, Charlie? He likes you a lot. He's a member of the Fort Kent Lions Club, a pilot, a student of leadership psychology, emotional intelligence, and history, loves traveling abroad, speaks French fluently, enjoys a good single malt scotch with friends whenever possible, and with a developed taste for good French wine, he is quick to remind me that life is too short to drink poor wine. Mesdames et messieurs, c'est mon privilège de vous présenter un ami de confiance, un mentor et collègue. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dana Saucier.
Planning something comical. I got a little bit worried when I found out that he was interrogating to see if there were any police blotters with my name on them. I got a little carried away when he went on to not only the state police, but also the CIA and the FBI. So I wasn't really sure what I was about to hear tonight as an introduction, but I thank you very much, Alan, for an excellent job. Monsieur Germain, je vous souhaite bon courage dans votre mission au Brésil dans les mois qui viennent. Courage et félicitations. And I know somehow that I am the oldest or older member of the Alumni Association because, unlike Ken, I gotta wear another set of glasses to read